Phonology, Unit 3. The syllable. From a phonetic perspective, we look at how syllables are produced in terms of level of obstruction to the airflow. Thus, while there is little or no obstruction to the flow of air in the center of the syllable, we find more obstruction at the beginning and the end. From a phonological perspective, we look at what combinations of phonemes are permitted and which ones are not. That is what we call phonotactic constraints. In the case of syllables, there are restrictions on the possible syllables in a given language. That is, certain types of syllables are allowed in English, but not in other languages, and vice versa. A syllable can be made up of three parts: the onset, the nucleus or peak, and the coda. For example, pen. P is the onset, E, the dress vowel, is the nucleus, and N is the coda. Some phonemes are only found in the onset. For example, these four. Others, like je and the, are limited to certain onsets and codas. In the case of je, mostly in foreign words like genre and luge, and in the case of the, mostly in onsets of grammatical words like this, the, that, those, thus. Other sounds are only found in the coda, i.e., as in sing, among, bang. In English, we find syllables with just a nucleus, for example, I, with an onset and a nucleus, for example, no, with a nucleus and a coda, and with an onset, nucleus, and coda, cat. Syllables which have no coda are called open syllables, whereas closed syllables are those which have a coda. In English, there are also constraints on consonant clusters, i.e., the combination of two or more consonants, both at the beginning and at the end of a syllable. All two-phoneme onset clusters are made up of a fricative or plosive, known as the initial consonant, followed by an approximant, the post-initial consonant, never the other way around. For example, play, try, puke, fry, slay, throng. The only three-member onset clusters begin with a voiceless alveolar fricative s, which is considered a pre-initial consonant within the cluster. Examples: square, splash, and strong. Coda clusters in English, on the other hand, can be more complex than onset clusters, especially if we take into account morphologically complex words, as in texts. So, coda clusters may consist of two consonants, for example, flask and pink, three consonants, asked and next, and even four consonants, for example, texts and twelfths. To divide a word into syllables, the first thing we should do is to find its nucleus. For instance, the structure of man is CVC, that is consonant, vowel, consonant. There is only one nucleus, so the first consonant has to be the onset and the last consonant the coda. Most phonologists agree that English syllable structure is governed by the maximal onset principle, which basically says that syllables should be divided so that as many consonants as possible are assigned to the onset. The word lady is made up of a consonant, a vowel, another consonant, and another vowel, or CV-CV. If we follow the MOP, the syllable structure would be CV and then CV, as we could see in lady. What about atlas? It is VC-C-VC. If we follow the MOP, the structure would be V followed by CC-VC in the second syllable. That is atlas. However, there is a rule that states that the consonant cluster is only allowed in the onset intervocalically if it is found word initially elsewhere. The cluster t, l is not found at the beginning of any word, so the structure is actually VC in the first syllable and CVC in the second syllable. That is atlas. Let us look at the word potter. If we follow the MOP, it would be CV and CV. However, another rule states that short vowels in English, for example, the kit vowel, the dress vowel, the trap vowel, the strut vowel, the lot vowel, and the foot vowel, cannot appear in open, stressed syllables, and only the kit vowel and the foot vowel, as well as schwa, are allowed in open, unstressed syllables. So instead of dividing a word like potter this way, we divide it thus. Let us look at the word diploma. Following the MOP, the syllable structure would be CV in the first syllable, CCV in the next, and CV. That is diploma. The syllable di is allowed because the kit vowel, a short vowel, is allowed in unstressed open syllables. The cluster p plus l is also permissible as it is found at the start of other words: play, ploy, plot. What about cluster? According to the MOP, it should be CCV in the first syllable and CCV, cluster. But the strut vowel, cannot appear in an open stressed syllable, as in cl, so it has to be CCVC and then CV. Cluster. Yod and w. Although in English the articulation of yod is similar to that of the fleece vowel, and w is similar to that of the goose vowel, oo, yod and w are considered to be approximate consonants, while the fleece vowel and the goose vowel are considered to be vowels. Thus, yod and w can only be found in the onset, never in the nucleus. In English, in sequences such as tune and question, these phonemes are deemed to form part of consonant clusters, that is, t and y, tia, and k and w, qu, respectively.